State of Play this week features John Stapleford, Director of the Center for Economic Policy and Analysis for the Caesar Rodney Institute. And Mark Eichmann, who has a much shorter title.
You're welcome.
Is also here. All right, some of the news that happened late this week, we just saw that the University of Delaware has, no surprise, hiked their tuition by 7% for in-state students and out-of-state students. I guess this really comes as no surprise. We expect our institutions to become more expensive all the time now.
Oh, golly. With colleges and universities, it's an unusual case, but let's start with the University of Delaware, and then we could talk globally about colleges and universities in the United States. The University of Delaware has had its state stipend cut for 3 years in a row, and I think part of this tuition increase is a response to the state legislature. Well, sure, you can cut our funding, but we're going to have to raise tuition, not just to out-of-state students, but also to in-state students. Now, the more global picture, college and university or college education prices have been going up faster than inflation for at least 30 years. And part of the explanation is that the difference between the lifetime earnings of a college graduate and a high school graduate is still getting bigger. And so the return on a college education, it's well worth whatever people borrow. And people are surprised. Some people will criticize the federal grant money or the federal scholarship money, loan money, for driving up the demand for higher education. I think it's actually a good thing to do, but the surprising thing is the average outstanding loan for people getting out of college right now is only $24,000. So you compare that to in present value terms, economists speak of present value discounting for inflation. There's $1 million difference between a high school graduate and a college graduate in lifetime earnings. If you put inflation in there, you're probably talking like $3 million. So you're borrowing you're going into debt $24,000 and getting a $3 million increase in earnings over a lifetime. So that's the more global factor that's driving it. So it's both. And the criticism from people who are doing research now of colleges and universities, particularly big universities, is they've just gone wild on administrative overhead. They've increased the number of administrators over the last years maybe 3 times faster than they've increased the number of faculty.
And they're paying more for financial aid.
Well, that's
to complete the cycle.
It's another whole thing, Bill. It's very interesting.
So we're paying more because the university is paying more back to us.
Well, what they do is only the suckers pay the sticker price. And the suckers are people who visit campus, people who apply for early admissions, a few others that they identify. So let's say the sticker price is $10,000 for tuition. Inside the university, they set a rate that they want per student for that year. Typically it's like 25% off to 10,000, so 70. So they say, look, to admissions, you can let in, this many students. We want them to average $7,500 of tuition each. And so if somebody pays full freight or 2 people pay full freight, you can give people half off or 25% off because somebody else is paying the full freight, as long as we average the $7,500. So most parents don't know that it's just like buying a car. There's only a small group of people that pay the sticker price. Everybody else gets, and you can call the scholarships, give it any name you want, but it's basically just a discount.
And Mark, it's been...
You're feeling badly now, aren't you? You're looking back. No, it's all right.
I'm done with college.
I know, but you're looking back and saying I could have saved money.
And I have paid off my loans, which brings me to the point. I mean, Mark, let's say you're a high school senior and you're looking at how expensive schools are. I mean, John just gave you some good news. I mean, you can get it for less than what the sticker price is. But I mean, in my day, there was no doubt you're going to high school, then you're going to college right away.
Right.
I mean, would you consider delaying it, getting a job? I mean, these are decisions that high school seniors have to make now.
I mean, I think if you talk to them, a lot of them are considering delaying, postponing to a later date, which becomes a never date, unfortunately. And I think, it's a tough choice that kids have to make, and not knowing the negotiations and sort of the rules of engagement is a difficult thing.
And quickly, John, what is the best strategy for the kid to pay it off on his own when he graduates from college, or for the parents to say, I'm going to pay for your college, then you're on your own? What works out better for the entire economy?
Oh, well, I was looking from
there a short answer
looking
to
from looking from the standpoint of the individual family. If you save up a lot of money for your kids to go to college, you get punished when you apply for financial aid. So don't do it, and have the kids take out, the federal loans. They're below market interest rates typically, and they're going to earn far more money over the long haul. Now, is the current strategy, cost-effective strategy, is go to community college for 2 years where the tuition is very low, and then bounce over to the state university and finish your last 2 years there. And that's another cost-effective way of doing it.
All right, and when you graduate, the idea is that you have a job waiting for you. But where are the jobs today, and where are the jobs tomorrow? Of course, we don't know this.
Well, they're
the
not.
to this,
It doesn't look like they're looking for a receptionist here. It's in the Northeast, in Delaware, and of course, many parts of the United States. It's been a very difficult recession. And so there's two things going on. Not only are we in a very slow recovery where the growth rate is slow coming out of the recession, we are in a deep hole. We're digging out. To give you a sense of it, in Delaware, we're about 8 percentage points down from peak employment. And we're almost 40 months from when the recession started. Other recessions, we're already back break even. We already reached the level of employment that we used to have prior to the recession. So you've got the slower growth, and you've got the hole that you have to dig at. And then I would say this has been a really hard recession for people without formal education. So if you have a high school degree or less, you're really struggling right now. It's even worse economy than it was in 2007, 2006.
So going back to college, is it worth the price to go to
absolutely.
college?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Do people need 4 years? Do they need 121 credit hours? All that's been questioned. Do you really need to take? I was just talking to a young man today. He completed a ceramics course. He's a psychology major. He made a nice little ghost figure and an Oreo. He made an Oreo. Is that really worth taxpayers' subsidies? I don't know. I mean, to major in art, that's a different thing. But if you're just taking these courses to pick up credit hours, so some people question whether it should be as long as it is. And,
right. And another question is, what do you study today? What do you take when you're in college? I don't know if I'd be a journalism major.
Communications. Today. That's what you go for. That's not the answer.
Communications is very popular. What I tell students is to follow your passion. Study what you really enjoy, what you have a passion for, and it'll work. I've seen people major in business just so they can get a job and have an unhappy working life. Don't do that. Don't do that. And my father was an English major, University of Penn, and he was a top earning executive for years and years because he could write well and communicate well. So,
So even if those jobs might not be available this second, follow your passion. Eventually.
Follow your passion. The other thing, Bill, is when you say jobs available, not only do jobs come available when industries grow, and of course disappear when industries decline, but then people turn over in those jobs. So the extent to which jobs turn over all the time is not just a function of growth, it's even a larger function of people moving and people retiring and people having health issues, So you can't just look at growth industries and think, oh, well, that's the only place where there's job openings. There's job openings in every field all the time.
One place there are a few job openings is the Fisker automotive plant that's going to be opening up here soon in Delaware. They just started advertising a couple of weeks ago. You're shaking your head over there, John. A little skeptical, as I know from the Caesar Rodney reports. That they're aiming high, perhaps a bit too high.
The folks who are running Fisker have good credentials, good background in the type of vehicle that they have right now. They have some capable engineers and the like. The problem is on the demand side. What they're saying is by 2014, we're going to produce 100,000 cars and sell them. That would give them a share of the hybrid electric vehicle market larger than Honda. And since the time they announced that, General Motors, the Volt, there's been major manufacturers getting into this market. And then to confound things, at least right now, there seems to be a consumer reluctance to move into hybrid electric. On top of all that, the major automobile companies are now saying, you know, we can get a lot more miles out of just gasoline. So you've got a lot of demand side factors there. It's very, very unlikely whether the federal government with their $525 million and the state government with its $9 million will see their money.
Mark, in 5 years, will you be driving an electric car?
If someone gave one to me, I'll take it.
I'm asking the person who currently does not have a car.
Right.
We've got some issues there. I think you're taking how is public transportation, by the way, in the state?
DART is the way to go. I think it's a hard thing to say whether if you had the option of spending $30,000 more for an electric car, that's a really hard choice to make.
Well, spend more, perhaps to save more.
The confounding factor too is that the FISC, you can get a hybrid Honda right now for like as low as $20,000. Right now, Fisker is saying, oh gee, $50,000 for the sedan. They don't even make the sedan yet. For their sort of sports car, it's up around $100,000 now. So they're not only in a crowded market, they're at the high end, price end of a crowded market.
But you know what? That might be brilliant because they're going to get the rich guys who want to be the first on their block to have the cool electric car. But after that, who's buying it?
How many of those guys are there?
Probably enough to keep them going for a little bit. But eventually, don't you have to come down to the masses and
well,
provide something for
I throw this in
us?
because I have a hybrid Honda Civic, and I just throw this in from experience. It's a chick mobile. The women think
chick magnet or chick mobile?
I'd say chick magnet.
Okay.
Yeah, the women think that you are environmentally sensitive, even though you're really not. And they leave notes. They leave notes on your windshield.
Good tips from an economist.
Lots of things. So
the economist is telling us how to pick up chicks.
Yeah, if Fisker plays up that aspect of it, look, you loser, you might get a date out of this. That could be something.
And thank you, John Stapleford and Mark Eichmann.